Sorry for laughing.
Yeah, I know.
If I laugh, it's so crazy.
There are certainly
dude.
comical things,
Yeah.
and especially as we get into more of like the living on the street, there's certainly things to laugh about.
Yeah.
I have to laugh about it today, and I do.
It's so painful. The only thing you can do is laugh, really.
Right. It truly is. And so this is where, again, I'm gonna highlight the ego in this. So I was fed up with that. I was like, this lady is crazy. Right,
your
my mother,
crazy.
yeah, she's crazy.
Yeah.
How do you save cocaine for tomorrow? Like, this lady's crazy. So I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
What would you do?
It was so frustrating.
What would you do on like a cocaine bender by yourself?
Cocaine.
Yeah. Okay.
that's
like. Would you like play video games or like read or like listen to music?
No, cocaine.
Oh, okay.
Cocaine. Like literally, the only thing I care about is cocaine. Nothing else. So, and I see other addicts and other people, and they're like, I do this, and they'll get hookers or do something, whatever.
Yeah, you were like,
no,
it's cocaine.
It's me
We're
and the
doing
cocaine. There's a ritualistic aspect and component involved in me doing that.
Yeah.
And I do it until it's gone, and then I try to get more.
What was it like when you didn't have any cocaine or didn't have any crack, and you were looking to score? What's that process like of trying to find more drugs? I mean, do you start to get antsy?
Think about. Have you ever been like extremely thirsty or hungry? And it's hard to fathom that here in America, right? Like you don't imagine like going without food or water.
Yeah, but
it's plethora. It's like that. I need that cocaine to live.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need that more than anything in the world. So this is the best way I can try to relate it to normal people, and I say normal people because that's the only way I can, the addict or the non-addict, right? What is the most important thing to you in your life, right? And I ask that, and I'm not asking you directly. It's like I want you to think about what is the most important thing to you, right? Most important. And then I want you to take cocaine and put that in front of that.
Yeah.
That's what that's like.
Yeah.
So it's that important, right? So it when you're addicted to substances, it overrides your natural instincts for self-preservation.
Okay.
I only eat, drink, and.
But did you have like regular dealers that you would go see?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Okay. So
there was unique.
So it wasn't like I gotta find another person. It was like I gotta find money to bring.
Yeah, I gotta find the money.
Okay,
it's all about finding the money. And I had all these different schemes and plots and plans and things that I did, especially when I ended up on the street.
Well, take us to being on the street.
Yeah. So, this is the circling back to like highlighting the ego, right? I'm staying with my mom.
Yeah.
She's crazy, right? Because she can save cocaine and I can't, right? And I can't.
Yeah.
I can't live with someone like that, right? I can't live with someone who's capable of saving their cocaine for tomorrow. So it's crazy, but like and so I'm like, okay, I know this homeless guy, Jimmy's like 75. He's an alcoholic crackhead. He's been out on the street for decades, right? And I know it. And I see him all the time when I go and cop dope. And I'm like, I can do it better than Jimmy. That's literally the thought that superseded everything else, right? Okay. It's like, I could do the homeless thing better than Jimmy.
Okay.
Like, I could do that. And so the first thing I did, I packed up a suitcase, and I walked out of the house, put the suitcase in the bush, went to Walmart, stole a $300 tent, set it up behind Pep Boys. There's a little bit of stuff that happens in between that, right? I didn't just steal a tent, I stole a bunch of chainsaws and stuff.
Okay.
Why? I threw it all in the cart and just pushed it out the garden center, right? Like that I was just like, I'm on a mission.
What was your appearance at the time? Did you look
like I look good.
You looked like a healthy person?
Well, let's not get carried away. I didn't look like a healthy person. My face was probably sunken. I was probably, I don't eat a lot. I do a lot of cocaine. I stay up, but I'm well kempt. So like shaven, maybe something like I'm wearing right now, but with shorts and whatever, right?
Okay.
And that was an important aspect in my first months on the street, is that I wanted to keep that appearance up because I could not humble myself to panhandle. So people were panhandling and stuff, and I couldn't do that. Once again, I'm better than them.
Yeah.
Right. Like this is the ego.
I'm smart enough to get money
Yeah,
somehow.
I'm not gonna lower myself to that. I'm living on the street in a tent, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lower myself to panhandling.
Why did you steal the chainsaws so you could pawn them?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I was gonna sell them for drugs. Yeah, it was
okay.
exactly. You know, when I tell that story, people think like, oh, he was gonna go chop down like a clearing to set up his tent. That's like
No way, dude.
No, that's a lot of work. You know, like there's no way. But the funny thing is that I actually this is an important thing.
Okay.
So honesty is imperative for recovery, right? It is like the foundation of all of it. It's like it starts with this like gut level honesty. And so it's always served me well, even on the street. So that day, I went, stole the tent, chainsaws, and I had got some dope, and I went and I took a break behind a, I don't know, gas station. I don't remember the type of gas station it was. And I threw the tent behind the bushes, and I'd held the chainsaws close to me because you know what? The tent wasn't as important as the chainsaws.
Yeah.
Right? Because those
The
were
chainsaws are gonna get
dope
you
value.
more dope. Yeah.
They were dope
yeah.
value, right? So those were important. I threw the tent behind the bushes, and I put the chainsaws kind of under my arm, and I nodded out, fell asleep on the side of the building. I woke up to 7 Palm Beach County Sheriff's officers, and they're like, all standing around, they're like, all right, you're gonna tell us where you stole this stuff from, and we're not gonna take you to jail. And I was like, Walmart. And they didn't take me to jail, right? And so that aspect of honesty, they took my chainsaws. Like, okay, well, I can get money another way. Like, I'm not worried about. I'm not in jail, and I got my tent, right? So that was I got my house, right? So I went and set that up behind Pep Boys, and so the story begins. My 2 years on the street.
Okay.
I was addicted to crack cocaine, Flakka, and heroin.
Never heard of Flakka.
A lot of people haven't. So it's not what you're hearing about in the prison systems in Alabama right now. That's something else. Flakka is a derivative of bath salts. It's a cathinone. The chemical compound for it's alpha PVP. It was the zombie drug. Where
okay.
if
I
you
remember
remember
hearing about
back
that.
in like 2013,
Yeah.
2014.
Bath salts, Florida man.
Florida
kinda,
man.
Yeah,
like
you're
8
the
guys' face.
stereotype.
I was the guy. I didn't need anybody. I promise. That didn't happen. But that was a huge part of my story, you know, and I would use Flakka intravenously. So
Okay.
A lot of people smoked it. I shot it up, right? And then I would get extremely paranoid the moment that I did it, and I would take off running.
Oh,
like on
really?
a full-on sprint. I'd drop my drugs and take off running on a full-on sprint.
What were you running from? Or
Right,
towards?
exactly. There was nothing there, but I thought there was.
Oh,
right.
okay.
That was the.
Would you like hallucinate or?
Yes and no. The best way I could describe it to somebody, and really it's only to somebody who's ever done hard drugs, right? It's like third day meth psychosis instantly.
Okay.
Right? Like you're instantly in like a meth psychosis. If you've ever been sleep deprived
Yeah.
for a period of time and like you kind of
Oh, right. I see what you're
know,
saying. Yeah.
you get some of that, but heightened senses, superhuman strength, all kinds of crazy stuff that went
Wow,
along
that part
with
sounds fun.
Well, hey, I had a good time, man. I was doing all kinds of crazy. I would say that when I was homeless on the street and Flakka was available,
Yeah.
I was having a good time.
Yeah.
Right? And then the Flakka disappeared.
Okay.
It completely disappeared. I went to jail one time and it was gone. Like, just like that.
You went to
Over.
jail, and then when you got back on the streets,
Yeah,
it was gone?
It was gone.
What happened?
Never saw it again. There's a lot of
Okay.
you can quote all this stuff because it's all you can read about it. It's one of the only drugs in the history of the United States that a task force was devoted to getting it off the street, and they put pressure on the Chinese government to ban the production of it,
Okay.
and the Chinese government actually agreed to this. And this is not like you can look it up,
Yeah,
right?
got it.
And so they banned the production of alpha PVP because it was overwhelming police departments and hospitals, and no one was safe. That's the difference with fentanyl and Flakka.
Yeah.
So fentanyl, it
right.
kills the person using it, right?
You almost don't have to experience that person. They're not a nuisance
Right,
to you.
right. You know, when you look at the numbers of people dying right now,
Because of fentanyl?
yeah, because of fentanyl.
Yeah.
And the reality is, and coming back to like my mission, right? You know, so in the past 2 years, I've lost 15 people and my little sister, and I said enough was enough, you know. And actually, it was in finding my good friend and coworker dead, and I'm sitting in his driveway waiting for the coroner to arrive. I said, "We've got to do something different." because what we're doing right now is not working, right? And that's where the whole idea for OD Revive was born, right? Right now, what we're facing is it's an absolute crisis. Like, we can talk about it, the opioid crisis. We talk about the war. People talk about the war on drugs, that archaic phrase, right? From whatever administration did that, right? These things. But let's look at like an actual war, right? Vietnam War was 8 years long. 58,000 Americans we lost. Every year we're losing over 100,000 people right now.
Yeah.
Over 100,000.
To fentanyl.
To fentanyl.
Yeah.
Some of these are just kids trying things, and they're just trying to take care of their anxiety by getting some Xanax, right? Because that's a thing, right? So Xanax is this very heavily prescribed medication for people who have anxiety. With a society today plagued with anxiety, we have this Xanax. Well, you run out of your prescription. Well, you have to take to the streets to get it.
Right.
Now, right, 6 out of 10 pills purchased off the street contain a lethal dose of fentanyl in it, and that's what my sister died from.
Oh,
right?
she died from Xanax.
It was a Xanax pill that had fentanyl in it. So make no mistake that she is part of this story. She is a reason why. I pray every day, right? And I have my little thing. I don't know if you call it an altar or whatever, but thing with Brooklyn on my shelf in my room. And, you know, and I look to that and I'm like, she gives me strength in this, right? Like I get strength from that to keep pushing forward. This isn't about me. This whole OD Revive and all that, it isn't about me, you know? So.
Fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin?
Yeah, fentanyl is 50 times more powerful than heroin, and thus, it's 50 times more profitable. So I get asked this question, right? It's like, why do fentanyl dealers sell fentanyl if it's killing all their customers? If it kills half of their customers, it's still 25 times more profitable, and more so, right? And understanding half-life, right? So the half-life of fentanyl is very short, about 2 hours. Half-life of heroin could be 4 to 8 hours. So the addict has to go back more frequently to get that high.
You know, when you were talking about living on the streets, and you were talking about doing Flakka, right? So Flakka gets taken off the streets. I guess heroin is still prevalent.
Yeah.
What was it
Two
like?
totally different drugs, right?
Okay.
So Flakka is an upper.
Yeah.
Heroin, fentanyl, downer.
Yeah.
Right. Crack is an upper.
Well, what was it like when fentanyl got introduced?
I was just getting, so for me personally, I was homeless from 2014 to 2016. I was getting mostly heroin still. It was still mostly heroin. After I got sober in around 2017, the first time, and that's when the fentanyl started coming in, and they were calling it gray death or something of the sort, right? And that's when it was coming in, and it was starting to really take hold. Now, today, from what I understand, talking with people, you can't find heroin. Heroin's a thing of the past. And there's another aspect in the fentanyl production that makes fentanyl here to stay, right?
Okay, what is that?
So fentanyl's here to stay. So we have to adapt, right? But the thing is that with heroin, you have to grow large swaths of poppy fields, right? Maybe the size of this entire facility, right? To produce X amount. You don't have to, and you're subject to rain and DEA and all these other variables, right? Yeah. All these other variables, right? Because it has to be processed, right? You got to get the opium and process it into the heroin. Fentanyl, you could have a small laboratory produce the same dollar amount, the fraction of the size, and you have no risk of weather or DEA or whatever. You just need the chemicals because it's fully synthetic.
Oh wow!
So so there's that other aspect makes it the risk to reward ratio is much better for the producers, manufacturers, and smugglers as well, because they can smuggle it across the border in smaller amounts to produce the same yield in dollars. Right, and so they're also able to get it across the border easier, however they're coming across, right? Whether it be, the million ways that they get it into the country.
Yeah.
So it's here to stay, right? We have to adapt.
Right.
We have to adapt and address this issue.
And one way that you want to adapt is by, I think OD Revive is one of those devices that is really simple, but really effective in how simple it is. And what I mean by that is when we've been doing research on this product and talking back and forth, we've seen like a lot of over-engineered solutions.
Yeah.
And it's obvious that the product teams creating those devices don't have someone like you on their team who can say, guys, nobody's going to wear this thing. But OD Revive is simple. It is wearable, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about the product.
Absolutely. You're spot on. It's over-engineered. There wasn't enough thought and process that went into the development of what we could call our competition, but we don't have any competition, right? And that's kind of the unique thing. So they are already detecting overdoses. This is already being done. But if you look at what is available to the market, these devices are not meant for the 106,699 people that died in 2021.
Yeah.
These devices are not meant for that number of people that have been dying, right? Like, that's not the market. That's the issue, though. That's where we're facing. That's where the crisis is.
Yeah.
Right. So these devices, one of which is this Narcan delivery system. Sounds good. I mean, to all medical professionals and people that you talk to, and any normal person, they'd be like, oh, well, you have this, device that you put on your arm, and when it detects an overdose, it automatically injects you with Narcan. Seems to make sense, right? Reverses the overdose. I can tell you as an addict, I would never wear that, right? Because remember the psyche of the addict.
Yeah.
Most important
Peak.
thing, right?
Get peak high.
What's the most important thing, though, too, right? Peak high. Most important thing, get high and stay high by any means necessary, right?
Okay.
So if there's something that's a threat to that,
you're like afraid of Narcan.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Terrified of it, especially if it's around me while I'm high, because one, it's going to take.
I don't want that.
Yeah, I'm literally terrified. Right. It's like literally having a loaded gun to my head.
Yeah.
Like, because again, this is the most important thing in my life, and this is a threat to that.
Yeah.
Right. So that just having something on my body that could even malfunction, the risk, like 0.999% that it could malfunction, whatever.
That's the example
Terrifying.
of an over-engineered solution.
Over-engineered solution,
Okay.
right? Intention, well-intentioned,
Yeah.
right? Like your heart's in the right place, but you're missing a few points here, right? So creating a device that is discreet, one, right? We don't want a scarlet letter scenario. Discreet, it can go on and stay on with no thought or effort, right? You put it on and you forget about it. A lot like when you're in school and you put that pencil behind your ear and you forget that it's there. Like, where's my pencil?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You put it on and it just stays on, right? You don't have to think about it. You don't have to charge it every day or every other day or 3 days, right? The battery life will last a substantial amount of time. And all that it does, and it doesn't stop the person from getting high. We're not here to stop people from getting high. Our primary objective is preservation of life.
Yeah, you're trying to stop people from experiencing what you did with your little sister and with your coworker, right? You don't want other people to have that feeling. And I'm sure you've lost a lot of other close friends as well that you haven't mentioned.
A lot.
Yeah, that seems like a worthy device.
Understanding the relapse rate of people leaving rehab and
Your tolerance is lower.
Tolerance is low, right? So that's the main issue, right? Is that people that are dying right now are the people who are trying to get help in a lot of cases. So they have a certain amount of drugs that they do a day, right? And they build up this tolerance to the fentanyl. They go to rehab, detox, it's all out of their system, no longer have a tolerance. So they leave rehab, and the relapse rate is astronomically high, sadly. So people who pick back up again.
Yeah.
But now that the people that are in that segment, right, of relapsing people, no longer have that tolerance, and so they pick up. It's the last thing they ever do. So what we're doing is we're giving people a second chance here, or third, or fourth, or fifth chance. And this is a key thing to understand. So Narcan or naloxone would be obsolete if there wasn't a window of opportunity. So when a person consumes a lethal dose of fentanyl, heroin, whatever, opiates, there's an hour to 3 hour window to save that person's life. They slowly die from lack of oxygen, right? And that's our indicator. That's what our stuff here, that's what we're putting together with OD Revive is this ability to detect a dip in oxygen.
Right.
Now there's a lot of other factors
it's
and
tough.
components.
It's
yeah,
tough.
there's little details.
But that window that you have to revive the person, the device sends a signal or sends a message out, to a responsible party. Hey, this is the location of this person.
Think of it like ADT home security, right? So ADT home security is a third party. Somebody breaks into your house, ADT gets alerted, ADT alerts you, and then the responsible authority, right? So we are ADT in that sense, is that we are a third party where if you overdose, right? And mind you, this is the other part of this is that you have a deactivation button, right? That tells you, it alerts you first, right? So you're in full control of whether that alert gets sent or not, unless you're not able to control it, which the reason being is that you've overdosed, right? It then sends that alert out to us and or emergency contacts,
right?
And then they can respond with, what we are. We're the missing link connecting those that are experiencing an overdose to those who have Narcan.
And I think it's important too. This is a startup, right? This isn't actually happening. When you say we are, it's not yet. It's a constant development, but you're getting a lot of help right now from the hardware park. Next generation intern cohort. A lot of that's made from UAB biomedical engineers and some really smart engineers and designers from Birmingham high schools. Thanks to Birmingham Promise for that. What's it like working with those kids, and how have they helped you?
It's so cool. It was the first time that I got to see something physical as it pertains to OD Revive come to life, right? And so it became very real at that moment, right? And when they just put these PCB boards together and hooked up some SpO2 sensors and taped them to their wrist and just started seeing
They've
that.
been getting down
Dude,
into the weeds.
They're getting it done, man. And it's so cool to just see that. And then like, I've kind of come in and see just like little parts where they've cauterizing parts and putting them together. I'm just like, this is so cool.
I feel like the next gen kids. This is the second cohort, right? We had the cohort last summer, and then this is the second cohort, and they're setting a precedent of getting their hands dirty. Nobody is afraid to actually do the work. They got up on the roof of Hardware Park the other day to test.
Really?
I think the elevation of how...
the barometric sensors that I was...
that's so cool, man.
I wonder... I want to know... I haven't even got like the
they
details
have, they
of
have
that,
weekly
but that's
check-ins
so
with
cool.
you, right?
Okay. But that part I haven't got, the spring break whatever, but
they're
that's
out on
just
spring
so
break
cool.
this week. We'll give them a break.
That's so cool.
They're great. They're great kids. They're passionate, and I remember when you came and spoke to them. I think that took it up a notch for everyone. Your story is incredible, dude. Thank you. Thank you for being so open and telling that story. And you've got a great sense of humor about such a troubling period of your life. Yeah, man. We gotta make light of it. And we got to also take serious what needs to be taken serious too, right? And so that's why I'm here. That's why we're sitting here today, because I take our mission with OD Revive very seriously. Right. And Kyle, do you have anything you'd like to say to Birmingham? Well, what is it? What do they got in New York? Is I Heart New York, it's I Heart Birmingham, right? I really have made this place my home for a reason, and I appreciate every person that I've met so far that has helped move us into the position that we're in now, and we still got a long road ahead, and
If anybody knows anybody, or if anybody's interested in coming on board or helping us make those connections, they would be greatly appreciated. And I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too.